right. This is a special episode. I know it's not a multiple of 5, but something just happened that has never happened before in my life, and I had to make the episode about it. So, obviously, I'm talking about the Knicks winning a championship. Just one of the most special runs I've ever seen. 16 and 3, total 3 losses, combining for 6 points. 2 losses by a point in the first round, and then after that, they went 15 and 1 the rest of the way. People were hating every round, and they just one by one knocked them down. People said Atlanta might beat them, smoked them in the final 2 games. People said, "Oh, Philly, they beat the Celtics. They might be scary." Swept them and blew them out 3 out of the 4 games. People said the Cavs, "Ooh, they have talent, Harden, they have good defense, blah, blah, blah." Swept them, blew them out 3 of the 4 games. And then they go to the Spurs, and all I heard was the West is better, the West is better. And they go 4-1 and 3 of the biggest comebacks in NBA history in the finals, including the biggest comeback in game 4 with, obviously an iconic tip in by OG that will be talked about as one of the all-time great plays. So yeah, I'm in it right now. Knicks, we're in our talk our smack phase right now and our get back because everyone told us that they weren't that good and they just kept proving everyone wrong.
Yeah. If you didn't know, Grani, massive lifelong Knicks fan, and has this been the greatest week of your life?
It's definitely been up there. I mean, it's been special. I went to the parade. I mean, 8 years ago, like we were just praying to be 8 seed and make the playoffs. We were getting excited about Frank Ntilikina and Kevin Knox.
Yeah,
You
we
know,
gotta see if your grading changes. Is it gonna be all of a sudden everything's about winning championships, or you're still gonna be like, for some teams, making the playoffs is all you want?
no, I mean, as always, the end goal is winning. So, that's why I'll always have winning as the most important thing when we're talking historical rankings, when talking about trades. Obviously we've had some past episodes where in football they get a trade and it's some guy who's a Hall of Famer, but they never really did anything. So I'll still say that's better than nothing, but
Yeah.
obviously winning is the end goal. And
Yeah, and I wanna talk a little bit about, like, the series as a whole. I mean, the one thing that stands out to me is from the OG tip-in, Brunson shooting that was brilliant, no?
absolutely right. He sees the double. He knows, I got to get this off quick and give us a chance that if I miss, we can still foul or get a tip in. And that's exactly what happens. OG goes uncovered to the rim and gets, I mean, even by the way, if no one's there, that's a very difficult tip in. Like you could run that play 100 times with that angle and he might not put that in. So it
Yeah.
was an all-time play, but I agree with you. I think it was absolutely the right decision by Brunson to pull it quick. They always say you want to shoot quick so you have a chance to either tip it in or foul again, especially when you're down one. So I agree. I think it was the right read.
And the other thing that we spoke about, off air, that's just mind-boggling is how they were still considered underdogs. I think they were plus 160 going in to that last game. Like, all they had lost 1 game in the last 2 months, and somehow they're still considered underdogs. It's just, like, wild. Like, they couldn't get their respect even analytically, like, even Vegas wouldn't give it to them.
Yeah, so it's interesting you say that. Obviously, you and I talked about it off air. I'd say there's a couple of things. One is that, Vegas's analytics and the stats, they don't change much game to game. So even if the Knicks, win 3 straight, that might not change the analytics of the series in terms of Vegas. Like, my example I gave you was a few years ago, the Heat were an 8 seed and they upset the Bucks, or maybe they were a 7 seed and they beat them in 5 games, and every game they were 10-point underdogs.
Yeah.
And it just never adjusted, and it was the same thing where, like, the games were close, and then it came down to crunch time, and Jimmy Butler just won that battle in crunch time, and this felt very similar where, like, analytically, the Spurs might have been a better team. You know, they have more guys who shoot 40% from 3 during the regular season, blah, blah, blah. But when it came down to it, if the game was within reach, Knicks had just a way more veteran team and were better in the clutch. And analytics doesn't really take that into account. Analytics doesn't really take into account that a guy like Champagny or Vassell is going to be hitting shots during the regular season at a 40% clip, but in the playoffs might not.
Yeah, although I feel like those 2 played pretty well. But to
In,
me,
in, in the first half of games, they did.
that's true. I mean, the Spurs in general in the 4th quarter just collapsed. What was remarkable is that the Knicks didn't even necessarily show up in the 1st half, and they still were like, it didn't matter. And the last game, and I've heard, like, everyone in media has been saying this also, it wasn't just, like, my feeling. When I was watching that last game, I was like, "It just doesn't matter." Like, no matter what the Spurs do, like, I know that the Knicks are just gonna come back and beat them in the 4th quarter. Like, they were going up, whatever it was, 17, like, they were up the whole game, and I was just, like, watching it, I felt that was irrelevant. If you looked at any of the Knicks players, like, none of them seemed to care at all. Like, it was wild. Like, and
Yeah, I
and the
mean,
Spurs almost, like, were asking for it, they just let it happen every single game.
right, the Knicks had one of their worst first halves in game 5, like, they literally couldn't score outside of Brunson, and then they're only down 5 at halftime, and, like, in my head, like, if you're within single digits, like, you're basically winning, like, at this point.
Yeah.
So, I agree with you, I think the biggest things a couple of things were exposed. I think the biggest one is the Spurs' just basketball immaturity, all the way through from their coach to the players, like, they're just young and immature. Even you could see it in the press conferences, the Knicks after each game would say, the Spurs are a hell of a team and they're gonna come and bring their best fight and we just need to like bring it. And then the Spurs would, even after being down 3-1, would say, like, we're the better team and we're playing better. And it's like you're not living in reality. Like at some point you have to be like, listen, we need like our back is against the wall. We need to do better. And they never even said that.
Yeah, have you seen the content of, like like, the Knicks might have won the finals, but James Harden won the analytical finals, so, like,
Oh yeah.
The Cavs swept in, analytics.
Yeah, there were some great ones with that. There were also, right, the Spurs are playing game 7 tonight, like, they're in the while the Knicks were partying, it was like Spurs are getting ready for game 7 because analytically they're up.
Right.
Um,
For
yeah, I
context,
mean
if you didn't hear, the Cavs coach after game 3 said when they were down 3-0 in the series said, "Oh, well, analytically, we're off 2 games to 1." So, you know, he's getting inclined for that. People it's debatable if that's, like, the biggest loser quote of all time. So, I don't wanna get too
yeah,
far
and
off
and
topic.
and this is the thing where, like, the playoffs is different, like, okay, sometimes a guy might be shooting 40% from 3 in the regular season, but that doesn't mean he's gonna be hitting those on closeouts in the playoffs. So, and in the playoffs, teams completely change the way they defend, right? They're gonna expose your biggest weaknesses and leave those guys open, like guys who can't really shoot. So everything becomes way there's just the margins are way different. And I mean, obviously, the Cavs coach, he seems like a nice guy and all, but that was almost a fireable offense to be like, analytically, we're winning.
Yeah, and then they re-signed
Mm,
him, just a loser organization.
yeah, I mean, and I think the Spurs were doing similar stuff. Like, if you're the Spurs, let's say you're down 2-0, the Knicks haven't lost a game in 2 months, and you're coming out and saying, "Oh, like, look at us, we're doing better." Like, do you not see the same thing the Knicks just did to the last team that said, "Oh, we're playing better than them," and lost, and the team before? Like, can you not, like, see the pattern? And they really just couldn't. They
Yeah. Although
kept
I will
making the same
say,
mistakes.
and I know you'll correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like that was coming more from the players, and that was part of if Wemby going from, like, the craziest hero to villain arc we've seen in NBA history, like, everyone hates that guy now. Mitch Johnson, I wanna give him credit because I feel like he seems like he's just a young coach, and he lost, but he had an amazing playoffs, and I feel like he handled himself well, especially with the handshakes that the whole Spurs team refused to shake hands with the Knicks after they won, besides the coach, Mitch Johnson. Like, you didn't check to see if anyone was behind him, but he was out there. He shook Brunson's hand, and also kudos to Brunson for shaking his hand before celebrating with the boys. But I feel like Mitch Johnson got a like, I mean, maybe it's his fault that the players are talking like that, but I wanna at least give him some credit.
I'll give you a couple. I'll tell you a couple of things. First of all, he deserves a lot of credit bringing them to the finals, beating OKC, sure. But I think there's three big things that he really deserves credit in a negative way for. Number one, not calling a timeout in game two. He blew that. Like they're a young team. Wemby gets the rebound, call a timeout, tell them we're holding for last shot. If we miss, it goes to overtime. So that was a rookie coach move. Like maybe if your point guard has the ball in his hands, I get it. But with your center, even if it's Wemby, like call a timeout, set up your game winning play. That was mistake number one. Mistake number two, I think he just didn't have the guts to bench De'Aaron Fox.
That's
Um,
true. That's the big one.
so obviously the Spurs in the series before, when De'Aaron Fox was out for a couple of games, they had a ton of turnover problems. So I get that he was thinking that, but Dylan Harper was clearly the second best player on the Spurs in terms of just being comfortable in the moment and being able to actually win his matchup. So I think that was a big mistake that he just couldn't pull the trigger on that. And I'd say the third thing, this does come from him. Like a certain comment he made to his team was like, We've been controlling who wins every game." He told him that after game four, like we've decided the winner of every game because like the game we won we controlled, and the games we lost we blew it. Which technically you can say that, but you haven't been deciding the games because if you were, you would have been winning. So
I don't mind that so much. I think that's like, he's calling them out for that. Is he wrong? Like,
maybe, but to say, like, we controlled the game, well, you didn't because the Knicks went and took it. Like, I think that there was a
well,
lack of credit to the Knicks the whole way through from the Spurs, and meanwhile, the Knicks, every game, even Mike Brown was like, "Hey, they're a hell of a team, and they deserve a ton of credit. They had a great first half." Like, there was a humility from one side, and there was some cockiness on the other side. I know Wemby was the leader of it, and Castle and some of those guys, but Mitch never even, like, called his guys out and they
yeah.
didn't fix it the whole
Well, that sounds
series.
like a call out at the end, but listen, like, to Mitch Johnson's credit, he put them in positions to win, like, Wemby decided to throw the ball off of Castle's back and miss 2 free throws, like, for the most part, like, playing against a team like the Knicks who, I mean, I felt like by that point, everyone in the world knew was on the same level as the Spurs and Thunder and clearly better. They had chances to win every single game. Like, maybe it's his fault they blew a 29-point lead. It's hard to say with all these things, but
Like, there was just things that I think that just are mistakes that a young coach makes, like that you can't really blame him, but, like, in the 29-point comeback, there was a couple of moments in the 3rd quarter where the Spurs had, like, 4 straight possessions where they took quick threes,
yeah.
and it's like, okay, you're up 25 now, but you're not doing the right process that got you there. And an older coach who's been there longer would just call timeout and say, "Hey, like let's get back to what got us this lead." Like those are little things that he just didn't do that just come with experience. I think he did a fantastic job getting them to the finals, but I do think he's going to have a lot of like of those kinds of moments that he looks back on in 5 years from now when he's had all the experience and just kick himself like how did I, make those mistakes? But that's life when you're a rookie coach, you're still learning.
Yeah. It seems like a rite of passage in the NBA for all these things, right? Like, hard to
100%.
win
I
the
mean,
first one.
even the Wemby thing, like it's very similar to LeBron making his first finals. Like it's very hard as a young player to really lead your team because you just don't have the experience. You don't know like the pitfalls and what to avoid. And I think that really, really showed in the Knicks Spurs. They were just completely like in terms of veteran leadership and attitudes, they were just completely different. And it showed especially under pressure where the Knicks looked so comfortable in the big moments and the Spurs didn't even really know it seemed like sometimes they didn't even know who they really wanted to get the ball to. I know they want to get to Wemby, but like it just didn't seem like they had a real purpose down the stretch of a lot of the games.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Okay.
and that should scare teams because the Spurs are only gonna get better.
Oh, it's terrifying. I mean, if it wasn't so hard to win an NBA now, I'd be more scared, but, like, yeah, I know we've had 8 different champions the last 8 years or something. Is it 9 now? What are we up to?
We're at 8 years, 8 different champs.
Right, that's insane. Like, no champ it's 8 separate champions. That's wild. Like, even in 8 years, no one's managed to win 2.
Yeah, this is really, people are saying it's because of the second apron in the NBA. It's very hard to keep together these teams.
Yeah. Okay, let's get into the episode now.
Yeah, let's do it. Okay, so today what we're gonna do is we're gonna compare two different trades the Knicks made, and we're gonna just break them down and decide which one. I want really to hear your opinion on which one you think was more important and better towards their end goal of getting a championship. Like which one was a bigger moment in this building of a team.
Yeah, let's do it. That's awesome.
Okay, so we'll start. We got a couple of players. The first one, he was born in London, England, 1997. His parents were Nigerian immigrants. His father was a professor and his mother worked in healthcare. Tragedy struck early. When he was just a year old, his mother passed away. Soon after, they moved to Jefferson City, Missouri, where his father taught at Lincoln University. In high school, do you know who this is already?
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's no secret. You hear his accent. We're talking about OG.
OG.
In high school, he wasn't highly recruited, wasn't a McDonald's All American, wasn't known. He attended Jefferson City High, and developed slowly. By his senior year, colleges began noticing his combo of 6'7" size with long arms and incredible athleticism. He gets a scholarship to Indiana, and under Coach Tom Crean, by his sophomore year, he really started to blossom. Scouts loved him, and he was projected as a lottery pick. Then disaster struck. He tore his ACL in January of 2017,
Hey.
and his draft stock fell dramatically. In the NBA draft 2017, the Raptors gambled on him and took him 23rd. And that was considered at the time a gamble. That's how far he fell. In the Toronto years, under coach Nick Nurse and teammates with Kawhi Leonard, he had a lot of success and they won a championship, although he missed it because he missed the playoffs in 2019 with he had an emergency surgery, appendectomy, and he missed the whole run. So
The
they
whole
won a
playoffs
championship.
for an appendicitis?
Yeah,
Wow.
pretty crazy. So he actually they won a championship, but he wasn't really a part of it.
He got the ring, though.
Yes, he did. Eventually, after that, he becomes obviously one of the league's premier wing defenders. Now let's go to the other player that was a big trade. This man was born in Edison, New Jersey, 1995, basically a New Yorker. His father was a longtime basketball coach, and from birth, basketball was everything. He, unlike OG, was famous very early. By age 16, he played for the Dominican Republic national team
Yeah,
under
he's such
Hall
a
of
New
Fame
Yorker.
coach.
So he played for the Dominican Republic national team.
Yeah, well, his mom is Dominican.
Just saying.
Um, and he played under Coach Calipari.
Yeah.
He became one of the nation's top recruits. He dominated his high school, and as a 7-footer with soft touch and guard skills, he was considered one of the top prospects in America. 2014, he goes to Kentucky, plays alongside future NBA players Devin Booker, Willie Cauley-Stein, Tyler Ulis. This is obviously a very famous season as they started 38-0, and we're so close to having a perfect season. And before losing in the final four, they came 2 games away.
Wow.
Towns becomes, the number one prospect consensus and gets drafted number one overall to Minnesota. He won Rookie of the Year and became face of the franchise. Anyone who watched, the NBA playoffs this year knows about, the tragedy he dealt with his mom. His mom passed away from COVID during 2020, and he lost other relatives and family. And he one thing I give him a lot of credit for, he really, you know, shared these things. He wasn't really quiet about it. He was actually very open about it, which is very rare. So these two players, I mean, you couldn't really like they're so uncomparable in their starts, like underrated late bloomer, an injury before the draft versus, the child prodigy and number one pick.
Yeah.
So it's just interesting that they're just completely different, upbringings. So now let's get to the next part. Leon Rose takes over in 2020. Obviously, at that point, the Knicks were not a destination franchise. They had one playoff appearance in 7 years.
They're still the Knicks, though.
Exactly. But they were known for a lot of dysfunction. But obviously,
People like New York, people like the scene.
yes, but they had a real history of they kept coming up short for big free agents, right? They came up short with KD and Kyrie that year. They came up short when LeBron was a free agent. They just they it was like New York was dying for a star to come, and they just couldn't get someone to sign.
Yeah. They got the biggest middle finger when Harden, Kyrie, and KD all go to Brooklyn.
Exactly, and they picked right. They picked the Nets over the Knicks, which was at the time shocking.
Yeah.
And the Knicks, as Bill Simmons stated at the time, they signed Jalen Brunson, and Bill Simmons said the Knicks won the saddest sweepstakes of all time.
Everyone
Well,
said that, by the way.
yes, everyone was hating on him. I will
Stephen
say,
A.
by the
Smith said
way,
it. Who's the guy from Fox with the hair?
um, a lot of
Ryan?
people, yeah,
Everyone said it.
a lot of people were saying it. I will say, I was a fan of the move at the time. I said, how long has it been since the Knicks have had a point guard, like a real point guard in New York? The closest thing we had was like Derrick Rose, way past his prime and coming off of injuries. Like the Knicks hadn't had a 2 point guard that was like legit in a long time. So I was excited about that. I did not think obviously he'd become what he became. So now let's skip ahead a few years. It's 2023.
Wait, before we
Jalen
skip
Brunson,
ahead, oh, actually, I'll do it after. Yeah, let's skip ahead.
Jalen Brunson's become an all-star. Julius Randle was an all NBA player, and Tom and Tibbs had this established just like really good culture. The problem was the Knicks were good, they just weren't great. And in the NBA, when you're good and not great, like it's a little bit of purgatory because like you're good enough to win and make the playoffs, but you're not good enough to win at all, and you're not bad enough to get good picks.
Right.
So they knew a move was needed. December 30th, 2023, the Knicks decided to make a move. RJ Barrett had kind of plateaued, and Emmanuel quickly was due for an extension and a larger role that the Knicks couldn't offer. The Knicks had scoring, but they lacked two-way wing depth and someone who can guard, the top wings of the East, like Tatum, Butler, Mitchell. And Leon Rose saw something that few others appreciated. That OG was a player who didn't really need touches. Like he didn't need plays called for him. He could just play. Like he could just be off ball and still find a way to really, really impact the game on both ends. Obviously, there's family connections where Leon Rose's son, Sam Rose, was OG's agent. So they already had known of him for years, and he had known that there was, some crossroads going on in Toronto with Pascal Siakam's future and other things coming up. So he knew that there was an opening. We could go get this guy. So they finally make the trade. They go OG, Precious Achua, and Malachi Flynn for RJ Barrett, Emmanuel Quickly, and a Detroit second rounder.
Wow.
Obviously, at the time, RJ Barrett was still like coming into his own, and it was very, Canada was very excited, like a Canadian coming home. So
Yeah,
they made a
he
good
was
story.
considered a good prospect.
I mean, he was a
I
little bit
assume
deep.
a better prospect than OG at the time.
It's interesting because as a Knicks fan, I was very excited to get rid of him because, like I just said, it felt like he reached like it didn't feel like there was much more. Like it was already his fourth season. He already had signed an extension, which the Knicks would have been stuck with. And it didn't seem like he was getting much better. Like it just seemed like this was his game. He's going to put his head down and drive left very hard. His 3 point shooting has always been a little questionable. not the best playmaker in terms of passing. Like, just felt like he kind of reached what he was. So, obviously, I love the trade. So now the immediate reaction and the immediate just aftermath was the Knicks became a completely different team overnight. They added some defensive versatility, three-point shooting, and most importantly, physicality and size, right? OG was this guy who brought he's massive. Like, he is huge. You look at his shoulders and his chest, like, he's a big, big dude. And along with that, you brought, like, just the right attitude to join, these Villanova guys like Brunson, Hart, and at the time, DiVincenzo. They made a good run those playoffs, but they really dealt with serious injuries. Mitchell Robinson gets hurt, Bojan Bogdanovic got hurt, and then eventually OG hurt his hamstring, and then it basically was Brunson alone for the rest of those playoffs. And Brunson had some heroic efforts, like 40-point games, but they just didn't have enough playmaking to win that year. After that season, Isaiah Hartenstein leaves their free agency, and the Knicks knew that they had a good roster, but not good enough. They needed some more offense. So this is where the Towns trade comes along. People at first were kind of shocked in New York. Randall had been an all-star. He had just missed the playoffs, but he had been an all-star. DiVincenzo was a fan favorite, and people thought, like, why are you getting rid of DiVincenzo had just been top three and made threes that season on one of the lowest contracts that you could have. So he was like just an absolute like unbelievable contract, and the Knicks gave that up. The Timberwolves were willing to make this trade because they had just signed. They just got Rudy Gobert. He had a massive deal. Anthony Edwards was on a massive deal, and Towns' massive contract. With those three, they would have no flexibility. So they needed some financial relief, and the Knicks took that opportunity. So the trade was the Knicks received Towns, Timberwolves received Julius Randle, Dante DiVincenzo, Keita Bates Diop, and a 2025 first round pick from Detroit, which later became Joan Behringer, who I've never heard of.
Goat, future goat.
Um, Towns immediately changed again the Knicks' identity because now you're adding in a center who could shoot threes. So the spacing became unbelievable. The Brunson Towns pick and roll brought them to another level. And Towns, one of the most underrated parts of his game. There's a lot of parts that are underrated, but he's a really, really good defensive rebounder. I think people don't realize that because he had like this. People thought he was kind of soft, but as a defensive rebounder, he's always been really, really good. And in this playoff run, he even showed that he's a great playmaker and he could kind of be like a mini Jokic at times with his passing. But anyway, that trade really opened up things for the Knicks. And as we saw this playoff run, it made them a team that was so malleable. They could change based on the matchups. If they needed, a series where Brunson's going hero ball, they could do that. If they need a series where Towns is we're running the offense through Towns and moving off ball, they were able to do that. If they needed a series where they needed other scoring. OG could come in. Like they could just win in so many different ways that, these trades obviously really changed their whole roster. It's really unbelievable when you think about it. This is a team, a championship team that really none of them were drafted, right? Brunson free agency signing. They traded for OG, traded for Towns, traded for Bridges, and traded for Hart. The only guy who really has been there and like came from like I mean Deuce was drafted, but really it's Mitch Robinson. Like he's been there
Yeah.
for 8 years. But outside of that, like their core team, they did without tanking and just with good, really shrewd just trades by Leon Rose. Like the Knicks GM and ownership, they deserve a ton of credit for building this team.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen this a lot when we look back at these trades and, the especially the ones that end up in championships. The run that Leon Rose was on, like, now that you're laying it all out, is unbelievable. He did, like, I think multiple things that were highly questionable at the time, and everything hit, like, better than anyone could have imagined, which obviously starts off with Brunson and I Thinking Basketball, shout out to Thinking Basketball on YouTube. He was he was talking about, I don't know, he was talking about someone, I wanna say Dylan Harper in a video, but what struck me is when he said, "What even is a ceiling?" You know, like, when Jalen Brunson was getting drafted, what was his ceiling? You know? Like, a role player who comes off the bench? I don't know, like, ceilings are actually irrelevant, was the point, and that starts with Brunson, right? Like, he signs Brunson, whose ceiling at the time is probably considered a guy who gets, I don't know, like 20 and maybe 10, which is already way beyond what his ceiling was when he was drafted, and then he turns into, like, an uncomprehendable player. You cannot explain the guy is how tall is he really? He pretends to be 6'2", but, well, he's probably 6 flat,
if
and
even.
like, it is his ability to manipulate angles and his spatial awareness, like, it's hard to even explain how someone that small is so good. Who like,
And
he's
and
he's
and
not a good athlete.
he's playing below the rim.
Yeah. You know, let's say John Morant's a 99th percentile athlete in the NBA. What's Jalen Brunson? A 5th percentile athlete? Like, he's probably one of the worst athletes in the NBA. I guess
Yeah.
depends how you define athleticism, like, he's so good at everything else, but, like, just a remarkable, remarkable player, and then he goes on to make these trades that are, like, OG at the time, I don't think, I mean, you're probably more locked in, but wasn't considered like, "Oh, this guy is gonna be the" like, what's crazy is, like, I've the end of this is trying to figure out which trade was better, or, like, there's no championship without both these trades, you know?
Right, and I mean, even if you I mean, Josh Hart for first rounder, there's no championship without that, and people hated on the Bridges trade where they gave up, like, 5 first rounders, but he was fantastic during their playoff run. So and obviously none of this happens if Brunson doesn't take basically $100 million pay cut.
Yeah, which
So,
that it's gonna be really interesting because he's earned all the money, and it's funny when you hear him talk about it, and I don't know if he's obviously just, like, a good guy and a humble guy, so I don't know how much of it is just him being, like, modest and how much of it is true, but he says he was like, "I just wanted stability." Like,
yeah,
he's like,
so
"You never know how
that's
things change."
that's the thing that people don't really talk about is that he did the pay cut, but he signed a year early, guaranteeing him the 100 mil. So,
Exactly.
for example, Isaiah Thomas did not do that, and then he got hurt and got nothing.
Yeah.
So there is something to that, but still the way he was playing, he could have just held down and got a massive deal.
Well, in
And
hindsight, if he would've held out for a year, yeah, they would've had to give him literally
and but
200,000,000 instead
even
of 100.
at that time, the way he was playing, he knew if he waits to the end of the year, he could get that. So he could have waited, and a lot of people in the NBA do. He chose not to.
Yeah, and no
Um,
shade on him either way, because he's deserved, it's like we said with Steph Curry. He was in the same boat where he was on this, like, small contract, and then when it was time for him to get paid, he got paid, and he deserved every penny of it, and if Brunson decides to go that route and make 60, $70 million a year, it's definitely he's earned it.
I mean, also you gotta say, I mean, I think Brunson, like, if you're thinking long term, like him winning in New York, like this guy's gonna have endorsements for the rest of his life.
Yeah, I mean, listen, like, I never understand, for me personally, like, to be like, you're a professional athlete and you're more driven by money instead of, like, championships, like, I can understand it, I guess, but, like, it's a little sad. The guys I look up to in sports are the guys who, like, put winning above everything, and, I mean, sometimes I guess it's not great, like, they put winning above their families,
Right.
and, like, Brady decided it was more important to play another season of football than to be married to his wife, but, like, those guys who, they take pay cuts to win, I see it both ways, like, LeBron's made, like, whatever he's up to, like, $1 billion in his NBA career. I understand it, but, like, your legacy is, if LeBron decided to get paid $1 million a year every year for the last 5 years, he'd still probably be the richest basketball player, and if he won another 3 championships, it wouldn't be a question, he'd be considered the GOAT.
There is ego involved. There are certain people, and it's not, it's a lot of them. a lot of players, they want to know that they're being paid within a certain cap within their peers. Like, I want to be, like LeBron's like, I want to be paid amongst the highest in the league because those are where my peers are. And to
Yeah.
be a guy who's okay with not doing that, like Brunson, who was literally the third most paid on this team, OG and Towns are making more money than him. And to be okay with that is pretty crazy. I mean, even in the NBA now and the NFL, like you could have one good season and you'll hold out and say, I deserve more money. And Brunson is fine with that. And Curry's a great example of someone who was fine with that.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
it
also think about what it does for, like, negotiating for the from the franchise perspective. Like, if I'm the GM and OG is like, or whoever is like, "Oh, can you give me an extra 1,000,000, 2,000,000?" I'm gonna be like, "Bro, you're making more than Brunson. Like, Brunson's fine taking a pay cut, and you're not willing to take X amount off to help the team, like, to give us a better chance to win?"
so it's funny you say that because it's coming up with Towns, where Towns is due. Towns and Hart are both eligible for extensions, and people are already saying like maybe they'll convince Towns to take a little less so that they could keep everyone together for 5 years instead of 2 years. So
Towns is
we'll
a super
see.
max. He's getting it, like, he could.
Yeah, he's eligible to get like another, a massive extension to the point where like I think his final couple of years he'll be making like 70 mil a year in the 60s. So we'll see. It's funny also I already see now around the league like you have like agents and players complaining already like that this is a bad precedent because now other teams are trying to convince their star players to take less.
That's
So
a bad thing.
the agents and players feel like it is like why should we take less? The owner should make less. Like why is it on us? So it is it
It's
is
not. Do
interesting.
whatever you want. You're just do you
I'm
care about
convinced by
winning
the
or not?
way that's why certain players don't really mess with Brunson because I think he makes them look bad by doing these things.
Yeah. I was saying how Wemby went from hero to villain so quickly. Brunson, I don't think he was ever a villain, but, like, to me, and I think to everyone right now, he is, like, the most beloved NBA player I can think of.
I
Like,
mean,
who doesn't love him? Like, Dave Portnoy, who's a diehard Boston fan, even he is like, "I love it for the Knicks players." He's like, "I hate it for their fans," which separate thing, but he's just like, "Those guys deserve it more than anyone else." And
and that is such a good point. Like, and only a player like that, and it shows like how incredible he is and how likable he is, because basically everyone was rooting for the Knicks. Like he made the Knicks likable, which, I'm a huge Knicks fan, so I love the Knicks. But people don't like the Knicks. People don't like big markets. People don't like the New York fans. And he basically turned the Knicks into this lovable team, and everyone was rooting for them. And and only a player like that could do that.
yeah, everyone was saying that it's the saddest sweepstakes ever and Brunson's terrible when he got signed by the Knicks. And Stephen A. Smith, they had something on stage, whatever. Stephen A. Smith said that Brunson never says anything to him about it. He just comes up to him after every game and just kind of looks at him. And Stephen A knows that he's basically just like saying without saying it, like, you know what you said, you know what you did, and look at us now. And I want to give a little bit of credit to Stephen A, who, I never give credit to, but he is one of the people who actually apologized for
Yeah.
everything he said, for all the slander he's had against the Knicks. He came clean and whatever, it's all talk, and he's going to continue to do it, I'm sure. But he apologized. The biggest thing is did you or did you not apologize to Brunson? And I think basically everyone has besides Becky Hammon. So,
Well, she doubled down before the finals.
was it a double down? She said, "If he proves me wrong, he proves me wrong," I guess.
And then she was like the best two teams in the West, and they're gonna win.
Yeah. Listen, I maybe cut her a little bit of slack because she's from the Popovich coaching tree. She was with the Spurs for a while, but I mean, it
The
just
re the
terrible.
reason why, like, it's specifically her that's been getting all this heat is because that clip of her saying he's not a 1A was, like, basically reposted and sent at Knicks fans every time they fell short in the playoffs, like, we'd be getting sent that, like, "See? Not a
Right.
1A, can't win with him." So when it finally happened, like, the Knicks fans, we had our receipts, and I love what you talked about when they got Stephen A on stage and Josh Hart's like apologize, you know? That
Yeah.
was awesome. I think, one of the best moments of this Knicks championship, like in the celebration was Mikal Bridges' live, where he was drunk on Instagram Live for about 2 hours and had some amazing quotes, to the point where Jalen Brunson tweeted for the first time in 2 months. He tweeted, "Someone take Mikal's phone." Um, but one of the things he said is like, "You guys don't know this guy, Brunson. He sees everything. He sees all the clips. He never says anything, but he internalizes it and uses it. And and people compare him a little bit like in mentality, like that's like a little Kobe like, where like he's looking for reasons to like, like hey, like to motivate himself and it's really cool to see a guy like Brunson like just above it all. Like even in the parade, he goes up and he's like, to all those haters, I didn't say anything to them before, and I'm not saying anything to them now. They're not worth my time. And
Yeah.
it's like, who doesn't?
That's my favorite part about him is that I feel like for Kobe, and rest in peace, but a little bit of it was part of it was show. Like he wanted people to know, he wanted it to get out. Brunson, nothing anyone says matters to him. Like it's so beautiful. It's all just completely for himself. He does not care about a thing. And like something we have to talk about is winners. The guy won at every single level. And I'm sure when he went to Villanova, it was the same thing that, oh, is he going to be able to win? Like he's so small, whatever. Like guys who win are just, it's different. And now we're seeing it, right? Like Josh Hart, like, I mean, Stephen A, he said there's not one all-star caliber player or not one NBA level talent on Villanova after they won the championship. And four of them just won an NBA finals. Like it's four, three,
Three of them.
three of them just won NBA finals. It's just like, I mean, he wins. He's a winner and he doesn't care about anything. And that's why I get worried when we see like these guys, the draft, by the time this comes out, it'll be post draft, but guys who weren't winners at any level and they're getting drafted first overall. I mean, Towns did I guess he was close with Kentucky, but Towns was considered a massive loser for his NBA career and he completely, this was great for him. For I mean, for all these Knicks guys' legacies, and that was part of the charm with them is that they were all underdogs. Like all these guys have been counted out. Like none of them besides Towns were like considered A chip guys. And Towns, took a little bit, but once he got to the NBA, then he was considered like,
And
oh,
I
this
mean,
guy's he's not a winner. He can't do this. Blah blah blah.
and outside of Brunson, I don't know if anyone has had better just in terms of just PR for their career. I mean, Towns was considered this guy who was soft. And then he gets to the finals and he really beats the crap out of Wemby defensively and
Oh yeah.
basically shuts down all those comments of being soft. Jimmy Butler, who literally, destroyed Towns and Wiggins when they were really young, they're both champions now, and Jimmy Butler didn't win. So he definitely, in terms of career, just like this is completely just the way you look at him will never be the same. I'll also say, just on your point about winners, I mean, this is what the greatness of Leon Rose is that he wanted good locker room people, and when we discuss in a moment, when we discuss which trade was bigger, one of the biggest things and why I was so excited about both of these trades as a Knicks fan is not about what we were bringing in, it was about what we were getting out. Because Knicks fans knew Julius Randle was just not a good locker room guy, and he had days where he's very into it, and then he had days where he looked like he didn't even want to be there and wouldn't even try on defense. So like he was just a locker room guy that was really really difficult. And Barrett was very similar. Not that he was a negative attitudes as much, but he just the way he played was not winning basketball. He wasn't unselfish. He would take bad shots. Like it just wasn't winning mentality. And and then you look who they bring in, Bridges, who doesn't miss a game and is okay defending the whole game with barely any touches. OG, who never complains and is just like gives it his all. And Towns, who from the opening day when he got to the Knicks was like, my whole job is to make things easier for Brunson. And Brunson, is never gonna be the selfish guy and is so humble. Like, it was all about culture, and I think, like, just what you're talking about, like, it's so hard to measure, especially in drafts and in trades and all that, like, what a winner is and how much that matters. And this I keep seeing this interview because, obviously I've been watching Knicks clips since they won. That's all I do. Um, and this interview keeps coming up of Brunson's first interview when he signed with the Knicks, and he makes his statement and he says, "My whole life, I've done is won. I won national championship in high school. I won 2 national championships in college, or sorry, state championship in high school, 2 national championships in college, and all I heard was Jalen Brunson's great, but Jalen Brunson's great, but he's too small, but he's too unathletic, but he's not shifty enough, but he's not this." And he's like, "All my life, that's what I've heard." And he said, "All these prognosticators, the one thing they couldn't measure is my heart."
Yeah.
And it makes me
Awesome
emotional when
interview.
like, he's like, "They just couldn't measure that."
Yeah. They
And
can't.
that's what Brunson is a guy who just every year got better and better. He keeps working, he keeps putting his head down and just improving, improving, and then he gets to the Knicks and it's, they get out in the first round, then they're out in the second round, then they're out in the conference finals, and then they win a championship. It's just better and better, and he just keeps at it, and it's just a winner's attitude. And it's just that's also what makes this team so special. Obviously, it ends a 53-year drought, but, like, it's a group that us Knicks fans, like, love. And
Yeah.
I saw a great tweet which said, like, it was like, imagine, like, LeBron or KD, if one of those guys came and won in New York, like, we wanted them so bad, but it wouldn't be the same if like some, all-time player came and it added to his legacy. Like if LeBron came and won and it was all about him. Like this one is like it's our team. Like it's a
Yeah.
bunch of underdogs who they came and they won in New York. Like we didn't need some like, hired assassin, hired gun to come get us out of this. Like it was a team effort and it was just, you know, obviously, just for me, just an all-time special playoff run. I mean, some of the most beautiful basketball I've ever seen. And after this run, by the numbers, the best playoff run by point differential and by a lot of other metrics ever. And I don't care what anyone says about their path, no one will ever be able to take it away from them. After,
Yeah.
now that's written in stone, that's it.
Yeah. I mean, and also part of the beauty to me was like the the juxtaposition between the Knicks players and the Spurs players, right? Like all the Knicks players, Brunson, like you can't even it's hard to even explain why he's good, because like he doesn't have any measurable. He was the 33rd pick of the draft. Bridges, 10th pick of the draft. Josh Hart, 30th pick of the draft. OG you said was 23. Like that compared to the Spurs who are, their best players are all top 5 picks. Wemby is this complete freak of nature. Yeah, the Knicks had Towns, but he was a first overall pick who then was considered like a semi bust, even though he put up numbers. And it was just beautiful. Like just watching these guys who are all complete outcasts and were all counted out multiple times, even in college, right? Like they were winning championships in college and no one was no, they got no respect for that. And it was beautiful,
I
even
mean,
as a
would you
not
say
Knicks
I
fan.
think it's like maybe the epitome of hard work beats talent.
Yeah, like what else is it? Like right. Yeah. I mean, all these things, like, you realize how arbitrary some of these things are. Like talent, yeah, it matters to some degree, but like, I don't know. How do you define Brunson? He's not more talented. He's more skilled. Like, how do you
I mean
explain how he's so good at basketball?
I mean, there definitely is, and people are gonna start respecting more just how freaking skilled he is, and the Knicks fans, we've been seeing him do this for 3 years already in the playoffs, where as a Knick, he's averaging like 30 a game in the playoffs. He's leading the NBA since he's been on the Knicks in playoff points, in fourth quarter playoff points. Like he's number one in a ton of categories. So like
Yeah.
in a lot of stats, like it'll be like Jalen Brunson and Jordan. Like he has some numbers that's like him and Jordan. So he's been doing this, but they weren't winning. And now to do it with this group and to do it the way they did and on the biggest stage to have those, iconic comebacks and all that, like just really, really special.
Yeah.
Should we talk the trades real quick?
Yeah, well, there's one last thing I wanna ask you about before we get there.
Yeah, go
Do you
for it.
think it's, being a lefty helps with, like, the angles and the shot creation and that it's harder for defenders to guard lefties?
It's funny you say that because I was saying this about Dylan Harper, where like Dylan Harper would keep driving and defenders would jump up to block him, and then he would just extend his left hand and lay it in. And it's like guys were jumping at his right hand. And I definitely think, guarding a lefty, it's just different. Like you're not used to the angles as much. Um, but like in a 7 game series, usually the way it works is in most series and even the great players, like as the series goes longer, players figure out how to defend guys. Like they start like reading their tendencies. That's my theory on why Harden, right? He gets worse and worse as the series goes on because they're not falling for the step back anymore, and they're kind of like players kind of get aware of your tendencies. But Brunson, what makes him so great is like he figures out his defenders. Like like this series, he had a rough couple of first games shooting percentage wise, and then he got better and better because he figured out his defenders. And he did this. He did it versus the Pistons last year, where like they were kind of shutting him down early in the series, and then late in the series, he had massive moments against Asar Thompson. So like Brunson's, yeah, I don't really know what it is. I just think he's willing to work and grind it out. Like and because he's so good at like these pivots and taking tough angle shots, like he can always kind of get a shot off, which is so rare for a 6 footer.
Yeah, it's remarkable. Okay, let's get into the trade. I mean, are we grading them? What do you wanna do? Are we saying which one?
I guess really what I want to do is just which, like, if you were to rate them 1 and 2, which one was more important of this building this roster? Which one was more important towards them getting a championship? And I'll tell you right now what
Wow.
my thoughts are. I think OG was the more important piece that they got because OG like immediately changed their whole like team and their size and wing depth because they couldn't defend wings before that. At the same time, and Towns was kind of like the cherry on top, but what we got rid of to get Towns might have been more important because getting rid of Randall was so important for like just the Knicks' success. Like he really, I do think was it like a negative, just locker room guy, especially when Brunson kind of took over the team and it became Brunson's team. I don't think Randall was like fully down with that,
Right.
and he was just always just a difficult guy. Like one game he's bought in and he's all in, and then the next game he kind of disappears. So I think OG was the more important piece to add, but maybe the Towns trade was more important. It's very close.
It's so hard also though because are they here without Towns? I don't think so. Like
Well, they're not. I would say they're not here without almost any of the five. Like they're all so important, and that's what's
right,
special is that they were a real team. But if I had to pick one, I think OG trade made the Knicks like real contenders. And if they never made that trade, they wouldn't have even wanted to get make the Towns trade. Like they wouldn't have been close enough.
right. I will say one thing with OG is that he also he's like a role player, he's not really like a superstar, but he's not a role player who plays bad in the playoffs. Like he was insane. Like what did he have? 30 something in one of those games and then 30 in another game. Like he completely like he basically without him they don't win those games. I mean, without Towns, they didn't have Towns in the last two games, so I guess they didn't need him as much. But
Yeah, I mean Towns had a rough last couple of games. I would argue, I think in 3 years from now or 5 years from now, people will look back at this team and with hindsight, because I think OG is going to keep like blooming and getting better. I think people are going to look back and be like, wow, the Knicks actually had a big three. Like it
interesting.
was Brunson, Towns, OG. Like that's a real big three.
That's also like, people love saying like, "Oh, this guy could be like a 3rd star, a 4th star, a 5th star on a championship team, whatever." Like, "Oh, he could be your 5th starter." Like the Knicks, there was none of that. There was no buy-in to that like set of rules. It was a completely out of the box team, right? Like Brunson is this like awkward superstar because no one thinks he's actually a superstar because he's short. And Towns, I guess, but, like, he's also hated on, like, I guess those are your 2 stars. They're probably both all-stars this year. But then, like, after that, it's just like someone was gonna show up, you know? Like, Hart was gonna hit 4 threes. Bridges was gonna hit tough shots. Like, even some of their bench guys, I mean, McBride was terrible.
Shamit in the conference finals.
Shamit the whole playoffs, I think, was on a heater, I guess, until the
Yeah,
finals.
and
McBride was horrible, I will say.
McBride had a rough I mean, he had the closeout game in Philly, he hit, like, 7 threes in the first half. So, he had a rough ending to the playoffs, and he kinda fell out of the rotation at the end, but they all had moments, and right, Hart had a game, I think it was, game 1 versus the Cavs where he got benched, and Shamit came in and led that comeback. So, it was like whenever someone was down, they had others picking them up and showing up. And even Clarkson had a game in the finals where he had 10 points. So, it was just like a real like, when you talk about, like, a team that was by committee, like, this is the epitome of, like, teamwork, and it really, to me, like, the only teams that I really am reminded by of, like, that are similar is, like, that Spurs championship team, I think it's 2014, like, the year after the Ray Allen shot, like, that Spurs team that beat the Heat 4-1, which people say is the best ball movement team of all time. Um, and then I think maybe the Warriors' first championship team, where, like, it
Right.
wasn't that they ran you out of the building with talent, it was that they had answers for every kind of defense, and they moved the ball the right way, and like, people picked each other up. Steph has a bad game, Clay went off. Clay had a bad game, Iguodala showed up. Draymond Green showed up. Like, they just there's an answer for everything, and it was just fully by committee, and it was 7 deep, 8 deep, and everyone had a role, you know?
Yeah, and it was beautiful. I mean, who knows what'll happen because it seems it's just so hard to repeat now in NBA, but it was really, really something. And as far as the trades are concerned, like, it's so hard to say which one, "Oh, this one's more important, this one's more important," because, like, they're not there without like, they needed both of them to happen, and that's what we see with when you look back on these championships is that a GM has to basically be perfect for a 5-year stretch, a 6-year stretch, and just, like, make the perfect move, and major kudos to Leon Rose for that because just, I mean, hitting on literally everything for
And
6
and
years.
it's gonna be something that other owners look at and say, right? Because Leon Rose was an agent before, right?
Could
And
be.
it's gonna be something that agents look at, owners look at and say, maybe, like, maybe we're going about this wrong. Maybe we don't need a GM. We need someone who's friendly with the players because that's what Leon Rose did. Like, he had a relationship with Brunson, and his son has a relationship with OG, and, like, it was really he knew these guys. And when you have a relationship with the players, you know when certain players are undervalued, and you can
Yeah.
get them because of their situation. And that's what he did. It was really just really good maneuvering. And I'll say one more thing about the you know, running it back kind of thing. There's no doubt in my mind Brunson's already hearing people say the Knicks have no chance of running it back. And he's gearing up. And and he's not a guy I would doubt, is all I'm gonna say. I'm not saying the Knicks are gonna go back and win it all next year, but you're gonna have to freaking kill them to get them out. Like, they're not gonna go easy. Like,
Yeah.
and I think if they're out of all the teams that did this, they they're all in their prime. They have all their starters signed through next year. They have the 24th and 31st pick in this upcoming draft, which they could trade to get more flexibility, or they could let Mitch and Shamit walk and use those picks. Like, I think people do like I think people are still underrating the Knicks, and they're still acting like this was some sort of fluke. And Brunson will take note of that. And
Yeah.
we may be here a year from now, and be like, you know what? Maybe that first team was real, and this was the beginning of something.
Listen, if they're the first team to be a repeat championship in NBA in 9 years, that would be that would be something. That
I
would
mean,
be
then you can't. I mean,
unbelievable.
then all of a sudden we're talking. I mean, if he wins the second one, we're putting Brunson in completely different categories.
I think Brunson, like, no matter what happens, is gonna be well, it'll be interesting to see if he wins a bunch of championships, but, like, when it comes to all-time lists, I think he's gonna get cheated all over, like, I don't the people aren't gonna rank him. I don't know. I don't even know. Like, it's still, like, mind-boggling to like, Brunson as a player, just it doesn't make sense. I still can't wrap my head around him, you know?
Yeah, and that's what's so special about him is, like, he is like he's just an everyday guy, like, size-wise and athlete-wise. And I will say, he also has had quite a turnaround where, like, a couple of playoffs ago, he was getting called like a flopper the way Shea was getting called a flopper. And now, I mean, he's coming off a series where it felt like he didn't get any calls.
Yeah, he can't even get a flagrant call.
And he's completely, dissolved that narrative. Like, he's not a flopper. The guy's a dog.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
I
so
mean,
sorry we didn't really it wasn't really trade talk. I just wanted to talk Knicks.
we had to talk next. I mean, listen, those 2 trades, like, I think I think it will be appreciated, knowing how the Knicks got here. Like, that no one's been talking about that, right? Like, yeah, they won a championship at school. We know everyone's on the team, but, like, how they got here is the biggest part. Everyone talks about the Brunson signing. No one really talks so much about these trades, OG and Cat. And yeah, like,
And even by the way, right, Bridges, everyone was hating on the trade. He gave up 5 picks, but he knew, like, this is the final piece, like, and defensive wings who are unselfish and do what Bridges does, like, they don't they don't grow on trees. Like, you can't find enough, like, it's not easy to find a guy like that. And when you like, that's the thing, is that he was aggressive, like, when he needed to be.
yeah. And for the record, like, oh, were there a lot of swaps or just the one swap? It was 4 firsts and a swap.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. Like, late picks are late picks also. Listen, we'll see. I guess there's 2029 and 2031 unprotected and 2027, but
But by the way, the protections don't even like, things have changed because it used to be a top 4 protected, like, if you ended up in the like, in a certain spot, you would for sure get a top 4, but now they've changed the lottery, so even that, like, it doesn't matter as much unprotected versus protected.
yeah, I mean, this also once you win a championship, it doesn't matter. Every trade you made automatically worth it.
100%. They could stink for the next 5 years, like, they've already done their job.
Yeah, even if the Nets are drafting first overall because they have all the Knicks picks, doesn't matter. Knicks
Yeah, I
did it.
mean, look at the Nets, by the way. The Nets had 5 first rounders last year, they still stunk.
Yeah, I mean, they're it's tough. They're a garbage organization, and no one likes them because they've been terrible forever, and now the Knicks are good, and they're in New York, like, they're doomed. They should move. They should go back to New Jersey.
They should leave to Seattle or something.
Yeah, give Baltimore their team back, okay? I mean, then they have to be good, obviously. Thank you for listening to The Trade Rewind. You can find us on social media at The Trade Rewind on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. If you enjoy listening to the show, the best thing you can do for us is to leave us a 5-star on Spotify and share the episode.